You're listening to the Future Tech Health Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Until I reached age 40, I never realized the obvious, that we all have medical issues, or we at least have a family member or close relation that has, or will have them in the future. Medicine and biological systems are the final frontier. Until we've conquered death, figured out how life began, cured cancer, and understood our purpose in the universe, there's a heck of a lot to talk about when it comes to our health. Future Tech Health means I'll be covering futuristic topics that are actually already in clinical trials, or even starting to appear on shelves or by prescription, or available for your own use. We dive deep into stem cells, CRISPR-Cas9, the science of sleep, epigenetics, medical testing, cancer, ketogenic diets, stem cells, aging, regenerative medicine, and more. My goal for you, the listener, is to learn from these podcasts. You may very well learn something that may change the course of your life for the better, steer you towards a new career, or give you insight into addressing a serious medical problem. Remember, however, this podcast and its content is informational in nature only. No medical, tax, legal, financial, or psychological advice is being given. If you enjoy the podcast, please listen, subscribe, like, and share it with friends. Thank you. Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Future Tech and Future Tech Health podcast. I have Alan Braswell, President and CEO of Magneceutical. Website is magneceutical.com. So, Alan, thanks for coming.
Hey, I appreciate the opportunity, Richard. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Yeah. So tell me, what is Magneceutical? What's the premise of the company?
Yeah, so our company name is Magneceutical Health. Our website's magneceutical.com. But our company is really built around an energy-based technology. We're considered a Class 1 medical device that enhances feelings of relaxation. So we're able to help issues associated with chronic stress, such as inflammation, pain, energy level, digestive problems, and sleep.
Okay, so what does the intervention look like? What does the device do?
Yeah, so we have one of the unique things about our system relative to some other energy-based systems is we provide a whole body immersion into a uniform magnetic field. So to provide a whole body immersion, we have to have a fairly large system. We've got two coils that are approximately seven feet in diameter that you basically sit between and are immersed in our fields for typically 30 minutes to 1 hour session. So our system looks very futuristic, kind of looks like a time machine. And we often say it is a time machine. We just want you to get in it, try it, and think about a year that you felt better, because we're about to take you back there.
Okay, but why does it help someone to have them in a magnetic field? What's some of the science behind it?
Yeah. So the science is really based upon kind of bringing balance to the autonomic nervous system. So it's the whole addressing the chronic stress situation that many people find themselves in, and that exacerbates a lot of the symptoms associated with today's medical diseases and conditions. So it's really about stimulation of the vagus nerve, and via that stimulation be able to bring balance to the two branches of the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic branch, which is your fight or flight branch, and the parasympathetic branch, which is the rest and digest kind of portion of the autonomic nerve.
But again, how does it work? So the magnetic field, what does it do to your body?
It stimulates. Yeah, so it
electric
stimulates.
Fields, or
yeah, it's magnetic fields. So we create the magnetic fields with electrical energy, but the field that is the body's immersed in is actually a magnetic field. It's an extremely low level field, so it's physiologic to the body. Would be the same field strength as those that are emitted by your heart or your brain, if you had an instrument sensitive enough to measure those field strengths. And when we do that and stimulate the vagus nerve, which connects the brain to most of the systems and the organs in the body, we're able to bring about a balance in the autonomic. So you can actually, the biomarker du jour for the balance of the autonomic nervous system is called heart rate variability. So HRV, it's a common metric used in many of the trials today regarding disease states. And it's a measure that we can actually track during our treatment sessions, so that we can show you a graph of how your HRV has changed during the 30-minute or 60-minute treatment session.
Well, how do you expect it to change, and what does that mean?
So what we expect, HRV, we expect HRV to increase. So an increasing heart rate variability capability is generally associated with a positive move for your health. And the other two aspects of heart rate variability is going to be measuring the sympathetic tone and the parasympathetic tone associated with the autonomics. And what we typically see in a person who's exhibiting a chronic stress situation is their ratio of sympathetic to parasympathetic tone would be in a 4-to-1, 10-to-1, 20-to-1 ratio. That's generally not considered a healthy ratio. What we're trying to do from a health standpoint is get somebody to a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 ratio. So you're trying to bring those two branches of the autonomics into balance, if you will. So that's what we're able to measure during our 30 or 60-minute session.
What does that mean they're in balance? I mean, the marker for it is, does the heart rate variability go up by a certain amount, or how do you know that the two systems are in balance? Or
well, you see the tone. You see the tone. So the graph, and unfortunately, this is a podcast, so you can't see the graph on our website, but we can show you a graph that's created measuring heart rate variability, and it's got 3 lines. So one of the lines is the heart rate variability, the other line is the parasympathetic tone, and the third line is the sympathetic tone. So you can watch them change as the magnetic fields change during the hour. Most of our protocols will have between 5 and 15 different magnetic field changes during that time frame. So we can actually watch and see how the body responds to a particular magnetic field.
So, what have you determined? So you're stimulating the vagus nerve, you're restoring this balance, but are there different programs you have in the magnetic field, how much it goes up or down, and or how long does it pulse, et cetera? And does that do different things to the person?
No. What we typically see is if we can get positive movement in heart rate variability and the balance of the sympathetic and parasympathetic tone, then you're putting the body in a position where the body does its own healing. We're just helping it do that. So depending upon what their issues are, and the big 5 that we generally improve are pain, inflammation, energy level, digestive problems, sleep. So those are kind of the big 5. You may have osteoarthritis, or you may have diabetic peripheral neuropathy. You may have any of these chronic pain type conditions. And what we can do is we can at least address some of the pain that may be related to the stress that's created by your condition, and therefore help you feel better. We're not going to treat, again, the osteoarthritis or treat diabetic peripheral neuropathy. We can't make that medical claim. Our claim is that we enhance feelings of relaxation. But what that allows us to do is address issues associated with stress, and pain is definitely a problem related to stress.
So people report after laying in this device and having the treatment for like a half hour, an hour, that they feel more relaxed, or what have you heard?
Yeah, well, they definitely feel more relaxed. And what we typically will ask people to do is since this is a very natural field strength, it's not a high-powered laser or anything that's very powerful. It's physiologic to the body. We look for somebody to get in 5 to 6 times over a couple of weeks, and that gives the body plenty of time to start its healing process. The way I look at it, it's kind of akin to going on a diet. You're not going to be happy if you just eat that salad for lunch and then go weigh yourself on the first day. You're going to have to eat that salad for lunch for a few days, maybe even a couple of weeks, but you're going to start to see the change that the body makes. So ours is very much like that. We want to start the body into addressing the balance in your autonomics, and when we do that, we're going to give it time and give it the capabilities of start doing the healing that needs to take place, whether that's issues associated with pain, whether that's issues associated with digestive problems, sleep problems, that type.
So why do you
we
think
do have
this?
people.
Why do you think this is working? What's like the mechanism of action, and why does it help
Well,
people
I
with
think
sleep or pain or other things?
yeah, I think the best information we have on that comes from studies that have been done really for the last 20 years out of 15 years out of the Heart Rhythm Institute at the University of Oklahoma. These guys have taken our technology through rat models, through dog models, and we actually just got out of our first human study with here about a month and a half ago that will be part of a presentation done at the American Heart Association this November. But the mechanism of action appears to be that stimulating the vagus nerve at the specific parameters that we've been using allows us to decrease some of the inflammatory markers that you see in the bloodstream. So we're able to see a reduction in the inflammatory markers, reduction in cortisol, and we're able to see a balance, that heart rate variability metric I was talking about. I was really introduced to that concept about 3 years ago from the scientists and the doctors and doing the studies at the Heart Rhythm Institute. They're the ones who suggested that it looked like we were modulating the autonomic nervous system, and that very interesting for them because the particular heart issue that they deal with is atrial fibrillation. And atrial fibrillation is a hyperactive sympathetic syndrome. So that's a basket of diseases that have a high sympathetic tone. This terminology is something that they shared with us. So they said, if I were you, I would go out and develop an ability to track this capability with HRV, because if do in fact show that, then that's something that's very exciting and something that would be very important to our customers. So anyway, the upshot of their research here in this last study was that they found that they were able to, that number one, there was lower levels of inflammatory markers in the treated group versus the placebo group, and that they were able to reduce the duration of AFib by a statistically significant factor during the surgery. It's an interesting surgery and presents an interesting clinical opportunity for us to do research because.
Quick question: was this used during surgery or before or after? In the example you're giving.
It was used during surgery. So I was about to say AFib is an interesting one to study because the surgery itself, they induce AFib. So as part of the process of identifying the nerves that are firing and creating the atrial fibrillation, they induce AFib into the patients, right? So it presents a particularly interesting opportunity for us because while they're doing the induction of AFib, and they do that by basically hooking up some electrical energy to the heart and putting the heart into its AFib condition. When they're doing that, they have obviously their groups of their control group and their active group, treatment group, and they can see how long people stay in AFib during this process. And the difference between the control group and the active group was statistically significant. Something very exciting for us.
How does this relate to people, I don't know, getting an MRI or a CAT scan?
Yeah, so
they're exposed to high electrical and or magnetic fields. I mean, is there any crossover knowledge to be gained from those things?
Well, I don't know a whole lot about the MRI, system itself, other than it's approximately 1 trillion times stronger than the fields we're using. Literally, 12 zeros is the difference between our system and an MRI. Obviously, there's a totally different product that you're getting from an MRI. It's creating an image of the body, a very accurate image of the body, versus what we're attempting to do. So there's not a lot that we've learned from the MRI, although when it's I believe the MRI machine is a Class 2 medical device. Puts it at a slightly higher risk than Class 1 medical device, but still not a Class 3 device.
How about the Earth magnet?
Yeah,
What's that in relation to the fields that
yeah,
you're exposed to?
yeah, that's a good question. So the Earth's magnetic field is about 10 million times stronger than the magnetic fields that would be coming from your body. So most of the other magnetic therapy systems that would be out in commercial practice, now are either at the Earth's magnetic field, the geomagnetic field, or they're running up into the low MRI fields where there's 10,000 Gauss, 30,000 Gauss, 40,000 Gauss strength, which is a very, very powerful magnet. The Earth's magnetic field is a half a Gauss. It averages half a Gauss. The magnets on your refrigerator at home, probably average 50 to 200 Gauss. Fairly weak magnet. But at a half a Gauss, your body is actually creating magnetic fields that are 10 to the minus 8 Gauss, well below, to the tune of 10 million times below the Earth's magnetic field.
So if your body's creating fields in the order of 10 to the negative eighth, what is this field strength of your device?
Yes, that's exactly what our device is.
Okay,
exactly.
So same, about the same order of magnitude as what the body produces naturally.
Exactly. So what we've done, Dr. Jacobson and his theory on how this process works is he's really, believes that all we are is organized energy, and at the very basic level, at the very smallest level, right? It's not about cells and molecules. It's about atoms. That's where Dr. Jacobson kind of theory comes in. So he creates magnetic field strengths that he believes would be approximately the same field strength as a particular target that he might be after. So you have different targets, different molecules, different opportunities that exist for particular disease states or problems, and he thinks that if he can imbue the body with a magnetic field that addresses the target he's after, then he can start having a positive influence on that target's ability to communicate with the rest of the body.
Well, if you induce magnetic fields, that would induce whatever corresponding electric field in the body. So if it's the same order of magnitude, it should induce electric fields in the body of equal strength to what the body is inducing already. So I would guess that would amplify what processes that are going on, or dampen processes that are going on, depending on how you apply them.
Exactly. I think that's some of the stuff that's yet to be discovered as far as our ability to see exactly what's happening in very, very tiny particles of our body. But that's certainly some of the theory that Dr. Jacobson's laid as a foundation.
So is this applied to the entire body, or just selectively to parts, the head?
No, it's the entire body. Our system allows you sit back in a very comfortable orthopedic recliner, and most everybody takes a big nap. That's of course what happens when you increase parasympathetic tone. We are at our most parasympathetic state when we're in deep sleep. So our treatment sessions often end up being, it's a 60-minute treatment session. It ends up being a 55-minute nap.
Okay. So what are the effects that people report when they're in the chair versus that night or weeks later? Like, what are the short and long-term effects that people are telling you they're having?
Yeah. So, I mean, we address, pain is probably the easiest, most discernible, issue that's addressed. So, folks will report if you come in an acute situation, a pain that's created just because I hurt my back, or I had a bicycle injury or a sports injury. If they come in and get an hour of treatment session, we can usually reduce their pain level by 50%, by 75%. If they want to come back, in that 5 to 6 times, we're going to get that at 100% for acute issues. For more chronic conditions, more pain issues associated with more chronic conditions that are a lot of times lifestyle issues, osteoarthritis, diabetic peripheral neuropathy, that type of thing. we can see significant pain reductions in that 5 to 6 treatment session time over a couple of weeks. We'll see significant reduction in that, and they'll report typically a lot less usage of painkillers or aspirin or any Tylenol, whatever they're using to try and help with the pain. They'll report using less of it. So that's one of the key areas for our technology.
Why not increase the field strength and try to apply it locally to a part of the body and see what happens there? Why?
Yeah,
was it just too much to experiment on, or what?
No, well, certainly part of it is we're a small company, so limited resources. We can't begin to test all the real opportunities exist. We just don't have the resources, so we kind of take what we're given right now. I will tell you though that we can see application of a smaller system for particular areas, but we would not be increasing field strength. It's the key to our effect is that we are physiologic to the body. So the body recognizes the fields that we're putting it in. It speaks that language. If we just put in more powerful fields, there's more powerful fields all around us. My cell phone is orders of magnitude stronger, creating a magnetic field that's orders of magnitude stronger than the fields we create. My computer that I'm in front of right now and the 2 LCD screens that I'm looking at are, infinitely stronger, the magnetic fields that we create. But it's the key is you create a field that's physiologic to the body, that the body recognizes.
Well, I would figure that, you guys have studied the electric fields that the body creates. I don't know, is there any pattern in them that is discernible beyond, let's say, just the heart beating and it correlating with that? I mean, have you looked at diurnally, day and night, or, longitudinally, someone over a period of time or in different conditions, stress, not stress, learning, sleeping, talking? Has anyone studied that the electric fields produced and the corresponding magnetic fields produced in the body to see what it's doing? And then maybe the therapy would evolve or become different.
Yeah, and it may very well. I think you raised some good points that there's just a ton. Energy medicine is really in its infancy right now, and so whether it's electrical or cryo or thermal or laser or sound or magnetic, it's actually just at its infant. So there's tons and tons of questions out there that we don't have answers to. And like I said before, we've got a number of years of research at universities. We go from University of South Florida, University of Colorado, Fairleigh Dickinson, Cornell. We've done wound healing studies, neuropathy, arthritis studies, Parkinson's studies. We've done a lot of studies, but we haven't done any of the studies that you just asked about. So trying to equate the electrical field and some of the other things that would be interesting to know the answers to, but we don't have the time or the money to go get those answers. There may be others in the energy space who have done some of that work. You've got folks with magnetic therapy devices that are stronger than ours. Almost all of them are, and they have done research on their side, on their technology that demonstrates the mechanism of action, and typically it's going to be a different mechanism than what we're
I would think this field is very small, or just about non-existent. I mean, are there a lot of companies studying what you guys are studying, or is it pretty rare that you're in a space like a blue ocean where not many?
Well, I think compared to a lot of areas, there are very few players in a space. Right, it's a tough place to be in, and a new therapy, a new a potential medical device and technology. It's going up against pharmaceutical industry and the large medical device companies. Obviously, have vested interest in different technologies and different approaches. So there are not that many of us out here. I guess we underscore the definition of a pioneer, right? We just want to make sure we don't end up on the side of the trail with an arrow in our back.
Yeah, I was going to make a ridiculous joke, or magnets in your back.
Right.
With rare earth arrows in your back.
Right.
Well, in talking about that, I mean, do you get tons of skepticism
Oh,
from
sure we do.
people
Absolutely.
what's that like? Has it been like really bad or what?
No, no. Well, you know what it is. You know what's interesting is when I started out in this space, 2005, I learned an important lesson, and I actually heard it on a podcast. A guy was talking about selling, and he said make sure that when you're talking to somebody and you're trying to sell them something, that they believe the same things you. And if they don't believe the same things you do, stop selling. You're wasting your time and you're wasting. And I had been at this thing for the first 3 or 4 years, and I was talking to every doctor I knew about our technology, its research, how to do it, blah blah blah, and I wasn't getting very far. And then I heard this guy on this podcast say what he said, and so the first thing you have to do is figure out, well, what is it you believe? What is it that underscores your reason for being here? And we felt that we could improve health without another drug, shot, or surgery. Not instead of, not that we need to do away with our drugs, shots, and surgeries. It's just that we got plenty of them, but we need some other tools in the bag to help improve health. So that's what we believe. We believe that we can improve health without another drug, shot, or surgery. And so I started talking to people, and I started looking for people who believe the same thing I did, right? That there is a way to improve your health without the big three. And so we really cornered in on the chiropractic space, physical therapy space, alternative medicine, functional medicine space, people who were more interested in getting out in front of disease through wellness practices and principles rather than wait till the disease, enveloped your body and made it really, really difficult to get better. And so it's been a great ride here the last 5 years because this end of the business is just blowing up. When you look at let's pick one issue. You look at the opioid issues, right, that have come about. All of the problems created by these FDA approved, legally dispensable drugs that have just done a horrendous job in impacting the health of our nation and many people around the world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we can help address some of those problems, not all of those, but we can help address some of those problems with this natural, physiologic, 1 hour nap therapy that may very well, be the key to taking your pain level from wherever it is to wherever you want it to be. And
What do you say?
the key is trying it.
1 hour nap? Yeah, why do you say it's a 1 hour nap? Is it so relaxing that people would pass out when they're in it, or it's just they have nothing to do? They fall
No,
asleep?
well, it may be boredom. It may be that I'm chirping in their ear for the first 5 minutes, and man, if you listen to my voice for more than 5 minutes, you can go to sleep, right? So it's, as I said before, most people will go to sleep during the treatment session. And that's primarily because I have them in a very comfortable position, and we're bringing balance to the autonomic nervous system. We're helping reduce the sympathetic state, the sympathetic tone, and we're helping improve the parasympathetic tone. And when you do that, you go to sleep.
Do people want to like text on their phone while they're sitting in the chair, or is that allowed?
Well, they do, but we like to take again, the phone is orders of magnitude larger magnetic field than what we're creating. So what we like to do is take their phone from them, put it on a table nearby or a desk nearby, and we want them to relax. We want them to lay back, listen to their body. Sometimes they'll feel a tickle, tingle, a warmth in a particular area, and that may change during the process because the magnetic fields change.
Yeah, and I guess if you think about it, people are exposed and exposing themselves to tremendous electrical fields all the time, inducing God knows what in their body. So shouldn't be so far fetched. But I guess maybe that the perception would be like, well, I'm exposed to all these electrical fields all the time, and it doesn't seem to be doing anything to me. So why would this work? Especially because the field strength is so much lower. But,
well, you know what? That is an excellent question, and we actually do get that. Well, gosh, how does it do anything if I'm, getting exposed to these things that are that much more powerful and all of that? And now I'm going to take you back to our AFib study, and this existed in dogs, a graph in dogs, but just like in the human study that I mentioned that just got finished last month, right? In the predecessor study, the foundational studies, they put the dogs under anesthesia. They they started inducing AFib into the dogs. They started raising the AFib inducibility. It's called the window of vulnerability. But anyway, they started this electrical pacing to take the heart basically out of sinus rhythm, and they show over 3 hours they take it from X to 10x, and at 10x you're in this asynchronous rhythm status that they then, with the dog still being charged, they move the whole thing between our coils, and they watch the window of vulnerability come back to baseline 3 hours later. So what this showed was that in spite of a very powerful electrical field being applied to the heart that took these dogs out of their sinus rhythm over a 3-hour period, that they were able to, with the charge still going, with the electrical charge still going, they were able to 3 hours later reduce them back to baseline using this very tiny, very small physiologic magnetic field. So I actually have evidence that shows you we can do things to the body in spite of all these powerful non-physiologic fields that we're exposed.
That's fine. Okay, so what's the future of this treatment? Where's it going to go from here?
Well, we're an internet-enabled system. So what that means right now is for us is I track. First of all, our systems don't work unless you're connected to our website, right? So being internet enabled, so I see every treatment session that goes on. I know when you got on, when you got off. I know what treatment session you used. I know what you think you had, going in, osteoarthritis of the knee, and I know what treatment sessions we were able to put you in. So not available currently, but what we see in the future is I'm able to take this and start, after 1 million treatment sessions, after 10 million treatment sessions, we're starting to able to use this and do some data mining, do some analytics, do some stuff that requires a whole lot smarter people than myself. And we're able to see and correlate how people benefit from particular fields, and we can start manipulating those fields. We can start then taking that data and start making it quicker and easier and better for people to find relief, right? By correlating improvement. And if we can start getting people using HRV, because that's a beautiful result from a treatment session, and start getting that information across many treatment sessions, then we can do the same thing. So I think we have a beautiful opportunity to have a wonderful database of how bodies responded, both subjectively, objective, to particular magnetic field exposures. And I think that's a key area that we're excited about.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, what's the best way for people to find a treatment center? I don't know how many there are or where they are, but how do they get in touch? And how do they get
so we've got on our site, Magneceutical.com, we've got a map of clinics. So we've got about 150 clinics across the U.S. and Canada, and when you find that clinic that's closest to you, we've actually got a free session coupon available so that you can download it and take it into the doctor, and typically he's going to honor a free session, tell you a bit about the technology, and get you in for a try. That's the easiest thing to do. If you have a problem with finding somebody in your area, you can contact us, and we have opportunities that depending upon the situation and the condition, we can potentially look at 2-week or 1-month leases that people can try. So if you have an interest, we can help you out. The key is to try it. The worst that happens is you wasted a little time, you wasted a little money. The best is you found something that doesn't involve a drug shot or surgery, and it helps you feel a whole lot better with an issue you've been dealing with for years.
Well, very good. Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Well, I appreciate your questions, Richard. Thank you very much.
You're listening to the Future Tech Health Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Until I reached age 40, I never realized the obvious. that we all have medical issues, or we at least have a family member or close relation that had, has, or will have them in the future. Medicine and biological systems are the final frontier. Until we've conquered death, figured out how life began, cured cancer, and understood our purpose in the universe, there's a heck of a lot to talk about when it comes to our health. Future Tech Health means I'll be covering futuristic topics that are actually already in clinical trials, or even starting to appear on shelves or by prescription, or available for your own use. We dive deep into stem cells, CRISPR-Cas9, the science of sleep, epigenetics, medical testing, cancer, ketogenic diets, stem cells, aging, regenerative medicine, and more. My goal for you, the listener, is to learn from these podcasts. You may very well learn something that may change the course of your life for the better, steer you towards a new career, or give you insight into addressing a serious medical problem. Remember, however, this podcast and its content is informational in nature only. No medical, tax, legal, financial, or psychological advice is being given. If you enjoyed the podcast, please listen, subscribe, like, and share it with friends. Thank you.